I got acquainted with Russian when I was a child. I had an encyclopedia for kids. There were very simple phrases there, like, "This is my father," "This is my mother," and I got acquainted with Cyrillic. It is still warm in Italy in October, but it was already cold in Uhta. Well, pretty much cold. It's a small town in the north, far from the center. The life conditions are very much different there. We came by plane around the middle of October. The snow had already fallen. The runway was covered with snow, especially when we came down the plane and had to go by foot to the airport building. There was no buses like it's often made in big airports. Yes, when we came, we saw how the plane slowed down in the snow. The Russian climate is, of course, very harsh and cold. Russian people are not the ones who can stand the cold. They're the ones who can put the right clothes on when it's cold. My friends taught me to do this, right? They taught me that it doesn't matter how many degrees is outside. The lowest I saw was -42. And I felt comfortable enough, though not very comfortable, because I got advice. Take this coat, not that. This one will be warmer. I learned how to use vodka to warm your feet. When our feet got cold, we rubbed them with vodka, and they warmed through. Becoming a tutor was obvious. I am a linguist and a philologist by training. This is my field of expertise. This is what I learned at the university. The phrase I've remembered since university is no, definitely, maybe, definitely, no, and maybe. All of my students become my friends. We stay in contact even after the course is over. I'm always in contact to help. I really like when people want to learn Italian. Why not help them? Yes, there's a stereotype that Russians don't smile. An ill-timed laugh is silly and rough. The gloominess of the image of Russians really changes immediately when a person becomes close. Russian friend is a very close person. He's ready anytime. He may not come over for years. Just greet with birthdays saying, "Thanks, how are you?" But when something happens, he calls, cares, comes for a visit. "Don't you need anything?" Bringing a simple orange to the hospital. Russians open to you widely, giving everything they have, even if they have little. I especially noticed that in Leningrad region. One of our girls' granny, who had practically nothing, she was a pensioner. There were 12 of us staying for the night. She gave to us jars with pickled cucumbers and tomatoes. Everything she had, she put on the table. Later, I understood that money is not the most important thing. The most important is to live in dignity. And I noticed that no matter if Russian people earn millions or cents, they all try to live in dignity, right and honestly. We met on the internet. Nastya got home from a holiday in Italy. She got so many emotions that next morning, I got her friendship request in Facebook. We talked a little, made friends, decided to meet and drink some coffee, to talk offline, not in writing. The relations moved on. We liked each other. That morning was fussy. We had to go, call the taxi, be on time, so that they got our passports on time. Everything was restricted in time. Even being inside the registry office was allowed only in masks and gloves, strictly according to the rules. Well, I think your wedding day is the one you remember all your life.
A wonderful moment of life.
So it came to the wedding. We are now happily married, living together. My friends keep telling me that I became Russianized. I pickle cabbage, I go to the dacha, I don't have heating in my country house, so one can't go there in winter. Well, no problem. It's like an operation table. This one is to hold small details. 5 years of my life were connected with the Navy. I was giving back to the state. One like this one has been standing in the shipyard for 5 years. It's more than 1,600 days of work. The sea is my soul. When you're in the sea, in complete darkness, the only sound heard is the one of the waves. And when you look at the sky, it's all black with those white spots. You get the idea. The sea and the sky, they give you a chance to understand how small the human is. It looks much like the taiga here in Russia. Such vast areas where we understand that all our fuss is nothing after all.
I remember Anna Karenina's journey by train.
I had the same experience. I got off the train on a long stop between stations, and everything is the same today,
As Tolstoy wrote at that time.
Well, this mix of modern and vintage, this mixture of new and old in Russia, living together, it allows to think that life is not in gadgets or technologies, but in the human soul. This is one of the places in town I've always dreamt of seeing. This is the house that was moved for 50 meters in 1939, with all the people inside. It weighed 24,000 tons. It's incredible. Everything has changed significantly in Moscow in the recent years. I found here what I didn't have in Italy. For example, shops open 24/7. I've always wondered, why? Whoever would go buy cookies or milk at 3 a.m.? But in fact, it turned out that there's nightlife here.
When I was learning Russian at the university, I got acquainted with Fyodor Dostoevsky. When the new underground station was built, I got to like coming here to meet face to face with Dostoevsky and talk with him in my thoughts.
I believe Moscow public transport being a masterpiece. There are 12 million people living here, and having such a transport system that is practically always on time, even at rush hours, the underground system is perfect. It comes on time, you can always find a place, it's clean and in order. It's just a masterpiece. It's not only a means of transport, there are certain stations. You can just enter the underground, not to move anywhere by train, but to just have a look at the architecture. Trams, buses, and the underground in Moscow are a warranty. Even the suburban trains, they always come straight on time. Even if they're late, it will be just seconds, not minutes. For Germany, it's a world event. The Second World War ended, the capture of Berlin, the capture of the Reichstag, and that ugly period was over, the worst period of the last century. Here, of course, the Russians played a huge role. We, of course, tend to look more to the Americans and the English who landed in Normandy. Nowadays, we understand what huge price the Soviet Union then, Russia today, paid for the liberation of Europe. These ribbons of St. George, which are put everywhere with honor, on the cars, on the clothes, in the houses, on any items that are seen. Your veterans walk along the street, and people stop by and talk to them. I feel really emotional when I look at these people and think how that person can walk with his back straight proudly. A real person, how he should have hunched with great difficulty during those brutal moments in his life that he miraculously somehow managed to survive. They all came up to Moscow, but no one reached its center. You stopped Napoleon, you stopped Hitler, it means you have the power. The Russian nation has the power to tolerate attacks on themselves until a certain moment. If the enemy touches the sacred, he won't ever go further. History tends to repeat itself. Apparently, this story has not taught anyone anything. Of course, I believe the sanctions against Russia to be a wrong thing. Russia's counter-sanctions are expected. I think you have the right to act any way you see fit. If you look from the point of view of the people, we don't understand why we can't all live together, amicably, calmly, without all these little conflicts. That was the situation with Russia during the times of the Soviet Union, and it remained a great powerful country. It certainly plays a huge role in world politics, even if we look at it from a physical point of view. America is at one side of the world, while Russia is at the other side, like a compensating weight. It is a pity, of course, that Russia and America still cannot, like during the Cold War, find a common language and live together in peace. We Europeans are right in between. We were always afraid. What if the Third World War happens? We'll be right in between, becoming the seat of the war. That was the situation during the First World War. Same was during the Great Patriotic War. Today we're cooking simple Italian tuna pasta. We'll put in some olives, capers, and of course, tomatoes and onions. I usually buy Russian ravioli. I really like them fried, more than boiled in broth. Fried, and I mix up Italian and Russian cuisine. I cook dishes from either one myself. As every Italian, I love cooking. Russia's iconic is borscht, I guess. Well, at least I think so. Meat jelly, holodets, pickled cabbage. It's equivalent to Italian pizza, pasta. Also, such products such as kefir, as sour cream. I really like the sour cream. You can't find it in Italy. We aren't used to such products. When one explains to us that these are sour milk products, we ask whether it's spoiled milk. It's really hard to explain. I was on Khabarovsk territory and visited the Amur Tiger Trail, Siberian taiga. Vast territory where there might be a bus stop along the way and nothing seen around. You have to walk several tens of kilometers to reach the nearest village. There's one place I dream of visiting, the Lake Baikal. I wanted to see Baikal Lake in summer, and especially in winter. I've always been impressed by these cracks in the ice. You can jump on it, nothing would happen, and even ride on a tank. Sochi, Anapa, Crimea, I was told that Crimea is a beautiful place, although not yet fully developed. Only now is the development of infrastructure for tourism beginning. The mountains and the sea are close by, which is very interesting. A little bit like Liguria, an area in Italy, Genoa, where the mountains come close to the sea. I thank all the Russians. I thank you very much for the hospitality, first of all, that I am experiencing in your country. And secondly, I thank you very much for the love you all have for Italy, for Italian people, for our traditions and culture. Maybe because the Italians came here and helped develop Russia, the Kremlin, St. Petersburg, they are known for the work of our architects. And I, for my part, can say that I am very grateful to have the opportunity to be here, to talk to you, to meet you. My horizons are expanding very widely. I became another man completely. It all happened thanks to the great Russian nation. I really love Russia. I consider it my second homeland. All people are identical. We only have different eye or hair color, but hands and brains is what every person has. We think similarly. Russia, I love you.